I just think what I really learned was that the status quo exists for a reason, and if you're going to go up against it, no matter how much consensus there seems to be that you should go up against it, you better come with all your pads on because it's a full contact sport.
Kojo,
no matter how much
do you
people
want
think.
to mention Kobe King, or do you want me to?
I think you should mention Washington Post columnist Colbert King.
Colbert I. King. That's Wes. You had an interesting relationship, you and Councilmember Tommy Wells, who oversees what you do on the council, who has been unrelenting, I think that would be a fair public word we could use on the air, about your efforts to reform people who have committed heinous crimes, and he says are too frequently let out on the street or not properly engaged. You're leaving. I'm sure Colby King. Do you think he's either happy you're leaving or what?
Well, you didn't hear the announcement. I was telling Kojo, not Colby, that he's moving to his sister newspaper, the New York Post.
So he can stay up with you.
Yes, he's going to stay up.
He did touch into something I heard in the community is that people were concerned that people with demonstrable records of violent crime were too often released back into
Were mistakes
society.
made, Vincent Schiraldi?
Of course mistakes were made. They're always made in any kind of reform effort. Even when you're not in a reform effort, they're made. But I think that, when I look back on this, and I've only got 5 minutes of looking back on it, maybe 5 years from now I feel differently. It's really not so much Colbert King that troubles me in all this. I think he had an unvarnished opinion about what I was doing from day one. Never really gave me a chance to change that opinion, and didn't publish a lot of the stuff I sent him that showed, he talked about kids running away. I showed him exconances were down. I talked about kids getting killed. Number of kids get killed in our jurisdiction fell by 2/3 during my tenure. Talked about kids killing other people. Number of kids arrested for homicide under my care fell by 50%. And he never published that, but he's an opinion writer. So I get that. They don't really have to, Robert Pierre never would have done that. The
reporter from
the Post that covered us. My beef really is with the Post itself, in that they allowed this to happen, because at a certain point, that many opinion pieces, and we made up 1/3 of everything Colbert wrote for the last 2 years.
Did it play a role in your deciding to leave?
But not that anybody was counting.
No, we did count. I had somebody count before I came on the show. But I think it's interesting because what it says to people who are reform-minded when they take over departments is don't do it. I mean, really, I think the message to most government bureaucrats is stay below the radar, don't pick a fight, go along and get along. And that's what you are told essentially by the media, and yet that's not what the people want. They want us to kick butt when we come into these departments.
Councilmember Tommy Wells said this week that you will be remembered as a reformer, and that most aggressive reformers don't last as long as you did.
That's true.
What do you think about that?
Well, I agree with that. And Joanne Aramayo said that in her editorial in today's paper.
One of your colleagues in this administration, Michelle Rhee, has been pursuing a lot of aggressive reforms of her own in the school system. There haven't been quite as many opinion columns in the Washington Post written against her, so she's operating in a slightly different media environment. But what concerns do you have about her sticking it out to finish the job?
Well, see, I think this is very analogous. I think that the kind of scrutiny that's coming on her right now is analogous because she is shaking things up, and when you do shake things up, you garner a lot of negative attention, whether your shakeups are good or not.
Well, people say they want change, and then when they start together, they can be discomforted by that change.
I think that's right.